Hello, Life Science class. This is Miss Odell. Today we are going to be talking through section 10B, which is invertebrates. You've actually read through this. You have became familiar with it, and so today we're going to read through this again and take some notes on what you see as I go through on the screen. All right, so follow along with me on page 200. We're talking about invertebrates. Invertebrate characteristics. So all living things are vastly complex. Invertebrates are animals without backbones. Invertebrates are ectotherms. We talked the other day about the various ways that animals are classified, and we're going to be talking a little bit about that as well. We talked about their symmetry, whether they were bilateral, radial, asymmetry. We talked about their gut. I know you guys were grossed out about that, but we did talk about that. Their backbone, of course, their temperature control. Now, so on page 200, you see invertebrate classification. Now, sponges. And if you look on page 201, you will see a picture of sponges. It's not like a sponge that you clean with, but sort of looks like it. But, all right, so sponges are animals with no symmetry. No symmetry. No cephalization and no gut. Interesting, huh? But all sponges live in water. That makes sense since they soak the water up. They are quite unique. They, unlike any other groups, their bodies have many pores they need that through water so that water will flow through their pores. They are from the phylum Porifera. You don't need to write that down, which means pore barrier. But the sponges live in water, and most of them actually live in the ocean, but they all live in water. Okay? Cnidarians. Now, cnidarians are jellyfish and anemones. You can also see a picture of that on page 201. They have stinging cells called cnidocytes. Okay? Which is actually how they use this to capture their food. How they get their food. They have radial symmetry, and most of these are marine animals. Most of them live in the ocean. In fact, fun fact, corals are cnidarians. Just know that. All right, the next section is worms. Worms are long, soft-bodied animals with bilateral symmetry. Remember, bi means it can be divided into two even halves, kind of like a mirror. Three of the major ones are flatworms, roundworms, and segmented worms. Flatworms include like free-living worm species such as planarians, tapeworms. It also includes that. Roundworms are pretty much the simplest animal with complete guts. They have a complete gut system. All right. Segmented worms are named after their repeating body. If you look at the picture on page 201, you see a picture of a segmented worm, and you see how they have segment after segment after segment after segment. It's just a repeating body over and over and over that contain the same set of organs. Leeches. These worms are classified as annelids. You probably remember us talking about that a little bit last year in science class. But annelids. So each of the three type of worms form a separate phylum within the kingdom, okay? Don't need to write that down, but FYI. Now, next we're going to talk about echinoderms, which are on page 202. So go over there for me. Echinoderms include a sea star, sea urchins, sea cucumbers. And they have some pictures of that as well in your book. Now, their name refers to a spiny back. Echinoderms live mostly in the ocean, and really in a lot of tide pool areas, even down to the deepest floor. Most have radial symmetry. Most of them have that radial symmetry. They radiate, right? Then we have mollusk. Mollusk is actually the second largest phylum in the classification world of invertebrates. So mollusk includes three major groups. Number one is gastropods, number two is cephalopods, and number three are bivalves. And if you look at your book on page 202, you will also see that gastropods include like snails, sorry about my writing there, and slugs pretty much. Cephalopods are referring to the octopus, which I find absolutely fascinating. Always have. And also you have a picture of a giant clam there on that page as well. Note that the word mollusk does refer to that name refers to their soft bodies, because they do all have soft bodies of some sort. Lastly, we have bivalves. Bi means two, right? And you have a picture of all right, the bivalves are animals with like two hinge piece shells, that sort of open and close, like clams and scallops. Or scallops, however you want to pronounce that. All right, so there you have it. That's the echinoderms and the mollusk group. Let's move on. Let's talk about arthropods. Let me back up and tell you one fun fact about octopuses that are in the mollusk section is that they are, I believe, one of the most intelligent. Let me look this up, make sure I'm telling. Actually, it says it right here in your book. It's the last sentence on page 202. Many studies have shown the octopuses to be among the most intelligent of all invertebrates. Okay, now let's move on to arthropods. And if you're go with me on page 203, the phylum Arthropoda, which is arthropods, has the most species of any animal phylum. That's important. The most species of any animal phylum. Now, they have, their name refers to the group's jointed appendages, all right, such as their legs and antenna, along with their shell mollusks. Arthropods have what they call an exoskeleton. You know what an exoskeleton is? Well, that's the outside structure of them that gives them support. Okay? Now, you have insects. Insects are it's the largest class. And they are pretty easy to tell apart from other arthropods. Adult insects has 3 body segments with 6 legs. Those are very important characteristics. And then there's almost 1 million identified species. Typically, in life science class, we do an insect collection, but due to the nice changes that we've had this year, I don't know if it's all that great, but anyway, it is what it is, and God had a plan. For Corona, we didn't really have an opportunity to be able to, we started late, and all those factors in that we didn't get to do our collection like I wanted to. The next group is crustaceans. They are, refers to shrimp, crabs, and lobster. Unlike insects, most have more than 6 legs, all right? Actually, I think lobsters, if you use their picture, they have, I think, 10 legs. Yep. Crabs have 8, and lobsters have 10. All right, go over to page 204. We're going to talk about chelicerates. And this particular group includes your spiders, scorpions, ticks. They have 2 body segments and 8 legs. They get their name from the kind of mouth that they have. The spiders' chelicerates are made or modified into actually fangs for injecting venom. Okay? Now look at the chart with me on page 204. You have your invertebrate characteristics, your sponges, cnidarians, segmented worms, echinoderms, mollusks, and arthropods. Those are the ones that we talked about today. And it breaks down to their symmetry, and what their symmetry is, and their cephalization and their gut, which we talked about is ways that they are classified. And you can see that picture as well here. The one in your book has some nice graphics to go with that. You've already done your terms for this, so all you needed to do was watch this video and take some notes. Hope you guys have a wonderful day.